I knew from the moment I was conceived that this was not going to be a normal life. I recognized the warm, soft womb as somewhere I'd been hundreds of times before. Well, at least they're not burning us at the stake anymore. So maybe this time, I can make a difference. I know there's a better way, and that's my mission. Elder women have been marinated in juicy life experiences for decades. We know who we are, and we stand firm. We've entered a new era of highly conscious, liberated women who no longer settle for being generic or predictable. We embrace our lives as a period of reawakening with the purpose and commitment to share it with the world. We don't just spout out our truths, we teach by example. We walk through life with the grace and the courage to carry on with full integrity. We are the women of today, and we welcome you to join us.
You've got to choose. We are mothers, we are daughters, we are sisters, we are friends, we are teachers, we are leaders, we are women. Hear us sing. We are beauty, we are gracefulness to all who come our way. Our hearts are soft, our spirits strong. We are the women of today. Oh, we are the voices of today. Oh, we are the spirit of today. We are white, we are black, we are all colors in between. We are young and we are old, we're bound by vision, bound by dreams. We are timeless, we are present.
For hundreds of years, women were not taught to read because it was believed that if they focused on their brain and intelligence, it would detract from the ability to produce offspring. And now we know that we are so capable.
Today I'm an accomplished engineer, an aerospace engineer, and I'm a mother of 4 children.
I'm the curator of the Sam Mitchell Herbarium of Fungi at Denver Botanic Garden.
I was recruited to go off planet in 2006 to join with the Mars colony.
I'm a psychotherapist.
And I'm a classical pianist.
I'm an ethnomusicologist.
I'm a teacher.
I've made 6 movies in the last 10 years.
Being a spiritual leader and being a minister is such a wonderful balance with mothering, because my entire job is to take to task my own consciousness.
Actually, my whole life, I knew I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom to 4 children. That was, since I was a little girl, just what I wanted.
Women have long been natural healers, comforting one another during times of childbirth, and yet that was the very thing that could get you in trouble for practicing witchcraft. Herbalists and midwives were very often the target of witch hunts because it was believed that the only way to salvation from your health crises was through prayer and penance.
It's amazing times to be in. It's a time of the feminine coming back into power. My work has a lot to do with this. I have been on a very interesting journey, and it's been a mission of mine to empower the feminine within men and women, and to really bring about unity consciousness by first addressing sacred union and our own internal balance. To save the planet, we really need to cleanse our own elements. We're made of earth, air, fire, water, and to really be authentic with those different aspects of who we are, including our archetypes, because the more we embrace all that we are, the more we can not have unconscious energy running the show. And so, because we've all experienced a very difficult history in connection to the imbalance of the masculine and feminine, and the different power structures that have been dictating to people how to think and what to believe, and then, you know, all this injustice that we see in the world where nothing is really fair or equal, it really starts with the self. And I feel like that's the prerequisite to unity consciousness, or at least to be in a community setting, being a lot more transparent and able to work energy together, because we're carrying a lot of ancestral patterns, we're carrying a lot of wounds and a lot of imbalance in our culture that we need to aggressively work on to bring things back into balance. And I believe that the earth responds to us. And if we can do it, we're going to notice that the outer world is reflecting back to us that achievement on a global level. And I definitely feel it starts with women, because the balance and the scales have been off, and they're coming back. We're coming back with, that warrior energy and warrior spirit, refusing to be victims to the past and refusing to be controlled, but, really choosing to play a part of harmony and unifying with the masculine as well.
It's not about male dominance or female being lesser than. We are moving into an age where we are ascending, and in the ascension, what we need to realize, it's not about devaluing the male, but it's about holding the male's place in what their roles is, and also giving the value back to the woman and bringing about harmony between the two. The way I see it is, I'm a ballroom dancer also, competition ballroom dancer. In my experience as a ballroom dancer is, a man actually is leading and the woman is following. The center of gravity between the two, the partners, is in the middle of their both partnerships. If the man does his job and the woman does hers, then the dance is perfectly in harmony. Each one is doing their roles. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about male supremacy or female supremacy. It's about bringing harmony of the opposites together to bring peace, joy, self-integration, returning the planet back where it requires a little more value to the woman, a little more respect to what we can do. It's not about just, okay, my role is here. We can do different roles and have a great time.
I'm an ethnomusicologist, and in my performance and teaching career, I found that it is working with the different frequencies of music and how it affects the human body, especially women, that I seem to make the most impact. And from what I've learned, with studying plasma physics and toroidal physics, dance is the perfect compilation of all of that science, and it's all in the human body. It's just a matter of unlocking the secrets and all of the different systems of meaning.
Another thing to consider on the dance floor is we have all of these mind matrices that are running through our being and our body, because our body, mind, spirit are actually one, right? But so we get on the dance floor and we sweat and we move and we groove, we actually break through mind paradigms that have been holding us down through our body, and we allow the ego to disperse and dissolve, and the possibility for unity consciousness and the one love is greatly opened and enhanced. And that is where the mysterious juice comes in and starts to heal, and we begin to feel more than we felt before. And the possibility of peace on this planet will be greatly enhanced by dance.
The beautiful thing about hoop dancing is that you're moving with a movement tool. And when you move with a movement tool and you're guiding a prop, it helps you find your authentic movement. So growing up, I was a ballet dancer. I had my degree from modern dance at CU. And I couldn't do anything that wasn't choreographed for me. Like doing my own improv or authentic movement was very difficult for me. I didn't like it. I wasn't comfortable with it. But when I found the hula hoop, the beautiful circular prop that is a symbol for infinity, I realized that I have my own authentic movement, and everybody does. And my authentic movement doesn't have to look like yours, and yours doesn't have to look like mine. I also feel this way with Latin dance because of the circular motion of the hips and the body and the rhythms, the polyrhythms. All of that just gets your body going in a way that maybe you wouldn't normally walk down the street. But this is how I walk down the street. This is how I go to Whole Foods. But it's about shifting and moving of the hips, and why does this have to be a bad thing? Why does moving like this have to be, you know, she's asking for it, or she's, you know, she's just too sexy, or, you know, whatever. That's, you know, that's normal in other cultures.
My background is anthropology, so I've been fascinated with cultures all over the planet, and I have found through studying music that my favorite music that resonates with my body the most is Arab music. And learning just the format and how it fits in with the dance, because the dance mirrors the music, and the music mirrors the poetry mirrors the literature, the classical Arabic literature, and also the Persian and Turkish. And just bringing that knowledge out of the women's quarters, because the women in the Middle East dance just with women, the family women, not the professional dancers. So that knowledge has been kept within the women's circle, and a lot of men will tell me, well, you know, belly dance isn't really Arabic, it's, you know, something for Westerners to do. And I say, well, you're a man, you haven't been in the women's quarters. I don't care what culture you're from, you're not a woman and you're not invited into the harem. So how do you know what is truly from your culture or not on that gender side? So I feel like I have been a voice for women, especially women that are veiled, and especially, you know, dancing in hookah bars and restaurants. My best customers are the hijabis, the women that are covered, because they appreciate what I do, they love the music I play, and they can vicariously live through me, and they can get up and dance with me because it's just them. You know, I mean, contextualized, you know, if there's men in the room, they won't. But if it's a private room or something at a restaurant, you know, for a party, certainly they're going to get up and dance.
Dancing for me is a spiritual practice. It is because we have two people who are hearing the same music and dancing to the same sound that they feel, moving down into their heart and down into their feet, and they become one. And that's bliss. That's divine for me. So I will go and dance, and it's like going to a special place in beyond.
So my first memory of dancing was in my grandmother's garage, and I think I was about 3, and she was having a garage sale, and I was just kind of hanging out, running around like a 3-year-old would. And she taught me the cha-cha step. And from then on, dance has been a huge part of my life. I started training and taking it more seriously and doing it socially. And what I think is fun is, although my mom and my grandma are both professional dancers, we all sort of found our own niche. And so my grandma specialized more in the ballroom dances, and my mom fell in love with Argentine tango and really went down that route. And I was introduced to swing and fell in love with the music, and it was a much younger crowd, and became very involved in that community. And I remember thinking through high school how grateful I was that they had introduced me to such a healthy and fun environment, because I wasn't super into like partying or drinking or things that my friends were talking about, because I was so busy dancing, and not because I had to, just I found so much joy in it. And the fact that it was, you know, good exercise and sort of a healthy environment to be in was secondary, and later I was able to really appreciate that. But in the moment, it was just super fun. And I remember thinking how grateful I am to have a mom and a grandma who knew that that's a thing, and that they introduced me at such a young age so that I could really grow up in that world.
Well, actually, I always loved dancing, and my sister was 5 years older than I, And in 1938, we were doing jitterbug. And so I learned to do jitterbug from her. And at age 19, I became an Arthur Murray dance instructress. And then, of course, I've been teaching for 60 years and on all of the dances.
So I don't do this in order to grab attention or, you know, oh, look at that old lady on the boulder who's running barefoot. She's the only one doing that. And I don't do it as a political statement. And I don't do it in an effort to package up or bottle the concept of barefoot and then sell it back in some form of a product, which, believe me, the irony of that does not escape me. I am doing it because it's the way I move through the world and have always moved through the world. And this is where we become something significant. In our world, we have to start to appreciate the diversity of motion, of all motion that keeps the world alive. So the motion of the grass is growing, the motion of the waters moving to the ocean, the flow, the waves, the motion of the trees growing, the motion of the birds flying. All the diversity of motion is what keeps the world alive. And to add our own motion to that in a very sincere way of who we really are. And for us as women and as a community to stand in the elegance of our own motion. To stand in the elegance of the words we speak, of the things we teach, of the food we cook, of the way we move through the world, and add that motion into the immensity and magnificence of diversity of motion in the world. That is what keeps the world alive. So if we were wise, we'd realize that life is not a race to be competitively won. Life is a race to be elegantly run. And for us to run in our elegance is in itself to live a life that we are in beauty, that we are in elegance, that we are in our own magnificence. For us to understand that that is what keeps the world alive. That's why I do what I do.
In my 80s, starting at age 80, and now I'm 88, I have been participating in the MS walks and the MS runs, the 5K, the 10K, and I just, you know, had been doing all these various runs almost on a weekly basis. Sometimes a 5K, sometimes a 10K, sometimes a half marathon, but I haven't been doing half marathons in the last couple of years.
And having that upbringing of my mother, seeing her struggle and have to work hard, you know, I really got that distilled within myself to know that my mother has the strength, you know, to do it all on her own. And now, now myself, you know, years later, having 3 female children, you know, it's a struggle, but at the same time, what keeps me going is I remember my ancestors, you know, from my ancestors in Jamaica to my ancestors in America during slavery. Because in slavery, a woman can be pregnant, but she still has to pick cotton. When she has her baby, she has the baby in the field and then she goes back to work immediately. So there's no rest. So for me, even in the days after having this baby, you know, in July, having no family and no support, you know, that's the thought I had in my mind of the strength of the lineage of women that I come from, to know that they did it in worse conditions with less opportunity and less help, and know that I have that blood, I have that in my DNA that I can do it. So it's a very, you know, it's empowering because my mother did it, I did it, and I'm showing my daughters the strength to continue to move forward as women, to know that, you know, you have the strength and the power to do anything. And, you know, it's a blessing to have the masculine energy because we need that balance. You know, so in my, you know, right now I'm really cultivating myself and my feminine energy, and also, you know, having that space to call in that balanced masculine energy as well.
Our mom, actually, she's quite beautiful in the way that she really, in hindsight, will always have a very positive spin on everything. Myself, being the mother of 2 children, it's beautiful and it's hard, you know, at times. And there's a lot of surrender, there's a lot of sacrifice, and of course there's so much beauty and joy. But when my mom talks about the 3 of us, she always says what a gift it was, how much fun she had. She also worked full-time. She was a nurse in New York City, so it was intense work, and yet she would come home, she would show us so much love, she would show us so much support, and I think that in turn has taught us to show up in every area in our lives the best way we can.
And when we can do that, when we can celebrate ourselves, and when we can learn to celebrate men as well, like, what's going to happen on this planet? Like, it's going to be beautiful. Because the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat the feminine, is the way that we treat this environment. It's the way we treat the planet. So by learning to love ourselves and treat ourselves well and honoring our feeling, we learn to respect the cycles of nature and treat this planet with respect so that everything can be holistic, everything can be in health. And that's ultimately what we all want, is a planet and life and men and women and everyone who doesn't identify as that, however you identify, to be living in a state of harmony and love and acceptance and understanding and functionality.
I love being a woman. It is a wonderful opportunity to be incarnated as a woman in this great time of change. The divine feminine has returned and is firmly rooted on this planet, and that is in fact what will heal the world and this universe. A return to the love that we are rooted in, a return to an appreciation for our mother, the earth, that we are divinely connected to.
I am pleased and honored and delighted to be a woman. These days women can do so much, and we are doing so much. We're here because we really care about humanity and we care about the earth. And in our very own unique ways, each of us, we're here to assist, to help save the earth, to help enlighten humanity, to help to raise consciousness, to increase spirituality. And boy, do we need it within humanity. So even if we have a softer manner than our male counterparts, we have strength. It's a different kind of strength. It's a balancing strength. It's a kind of strength that comes from the heart, with warmth, with love, with caring. And we can take action.
Greetings, all my relatives out there. It is an honor to sit here and speak with you today. I carry messages from the ancient ones, from the grandmothers that have gone before us, from a council of them. And I have many, many helpers. And they want to share with you the beauty, the love and the light that you are as you awaken in these days of great change on this planet. Our Mother Earth is hurting, but she's going through menopause. She's changing and she is shifting, and so are the hearts of mankind. There is much to be said for the divine energy, and there is much to be said for the balance. For the wings of mankind cannot fly, the hearts of mankind cannot fly if the wings of male and female are not balanced. Today it is time for the men to listen to the women. It is time for the women to stand in their power of love, to come to their center selves with love and heart, to pick up sacred responsibility of all men and women, of all kind.
The greening of the natural energy that abounds is good for everyone, for men, women, children, and animals, and the very health of our planet. We've tried to dominate and control nature and isolate active ingredients from plants in the creation of drugs, and find out that when we do that, there's going to be more side effects. So if we would just look at plants as a symphony, and in their wholeness, we'd see that nature, in her wisdom, already has given us what we need.
In 2009, my gynecologist had prescribed medical marijuana for me, and I really knew nothing about cannabis at that time. I'd been raising kids, and it hadn't been in my world. It just wasn't something that, I wasn't against it. It just wasn't in my world. And so when he gave me that prescription, and it opened up the doors, and I registered with the state of Colorado, and it opened up the doors to the dispensaries that were popping up right around that time, all around Boulder. And it was a real revelation to me because, first of all, I had no idea that cannabis came in flavors, right? I mean, I walked in and there were these jars of beautiful, beautiful buds, and they all had these ridiculous aromas and different flavor profiles, and they had these really yummy sounding names like Chocolope and Blueberry Dream, and I was like, oh, and it just really hit me that cannabis is food. And that I wouldn't, and I wanted to try eating it as opposed to always smoking it, especially I had kids in the house at the time, and I live in a townhouse, and smoking is just not always something that you can do. And I really wanted to. I also wanted to just play with it as a flavor, I started to do research, and I learned this is a vegetable. I mean, we call it an herb, but it is actually a vegetable, right? So it's like, this is food. This is something to play with. And, at the dispensary at the time, and still even really a bit today, all of the all of the food for sale was kind of sugary. It was cookies, brownies, sodas, ice cream, which I'd already been kind of trying to keep sugar out of my diet, because one of the issues that cannabis really helps me with is hormonal imbalance. Really, for me, the big, powerful effect is that it can calm me down when my head is raging. And that's huge. That's huge. I tried so many things to deal with that. I tried diet. I filled my medicine cabinet with those little vials of homeopathy pills. I tried, so many. And it was actually at the point where I went on Zoloft, which, I'm natural home girl. It was crazy, and I was that desperate. And I just said, girl, what are you doing? Like, this is insane. And actually the Zoloft made me even crazier. That didn't work, but it was really a moment for me when I went, what's gonna work here? What's gonna work? I was desperate. And cannabis worked. It was the only thing that helps me when a head starts to rage. I know that I can bring myself down to be calm again, and that's huge, especially as a mom and a working. I feel like I became a better mom and a better colleague. And cannabis to me is a female plant. I believe just as a spirit, she's a female. And it's funny because we actually have to pull the males when we're growing it, right? So it really is a female plant, but and it's so it's because it's dioecious. So you have to pull the males, or they'll destroy the females. But they basically just shoot pollen at them and make them all. So you can't make this stuff up, right?
Fungi are in the ground, in the soil, in down under. When I was a kid, I didn't know that. I bounced over all those hummocks in the swamp and picked flowers and did all those things. Found mushrooms too, but did not get that sense of what makes up the bottom part, the lower part of nature. Well, it's the microbes under there. The microbes in the soil. They are the soil, basically. And miles and miles, 8 miles of network mycelium are in a thimbleful of soil. Amazing, because they're tiny, microscopic, and they interact with each other in this amazing way, and we don't understand that all, But the important thing is they interact with the plants. Fungi in the soil are mutualistically connected with the roots of trees and plants, and help them grow, bring them the nutrients that they might need, that the roots of the tree can't go clear out, but the fungal mycelium can grow way out there and bring it in. And then they want a little something for their action too, and so they get the sugars from photosynthesis. Since fungi don't have any chlorophyll, they're not green, right? They don't have chlorophyll. So, of course, they have to make it somehow, so they rot leftover wood, and then they get their nutrients from that, or leftover grasses, or anything that's in a compost pile. And bacteria do that too, of course. But the mutualistic is extraordinarily important. So there are people who say, no fungi, no plants. No plants, no animals. Think about that. And no animals, no us. So the animals, of course, dependent on plants, so are we. And so it's this basis of the entire natural world that, and that fascinates me. I love to study that part of it. I had no idea when I was collecting the violets out there in the swamp that I would learn these wonderful messages, the information that comes from more and more information. I love science. I like logic, and I like science. I like to think that one thing is responsible for another, and yet there's so many mysteries that science can't explain yet, or maybe we'll never be able to. But I find it fascinating.
A lot of us are really looking into some of the unusual things going on here on the earth and within humanity. The kinds of things that generally the larger population might not be aware of yet. For instance, that we have many other beings from part of the cosmos coming here, visiting here, being in touch with people, with certain human people. There's a blending, a mixing, an exchanging between humans and these other beings. Some of these beings we call extraterrestrial because they're not from here on planet Earth. Some of the beings we call interdimensional. They really seem to be of a different frequency, a different speeding up, a different consciousness, less physicality than we experience ourselves to have. But there's a lot of communication going on with millions of people around the world. People who are receiving little hints and messages, even larger, longer messages, telling us to wake up and see some of the very dysfunctional things going on the earth.
So over the last 10 years, I've become a crop circle filmmaker. No training, and no plan to do anything of the kind. What a fascinating gift it's become. And I've done it in Band-Aids and gloves because I went to a dentist that I didn't know when I decided to get the mercury fillings out of my teeth in 2004. Next thing I knew, I woke up with a mouthful of new mercury fillings. I lost the use of my hands. For some reason, the mercury riddled my fingertips, which really destroyed my career as a musician. So I had two choices. I could jump the cliff, or I could find a new way to be in the world. I was so desperate to heal that I went over to England and did something completely out of character. I went and laid in a crop circle. I went back the next year because there was something in it that left me hungry for more. So I came back for 9 weeks. I've been in a lot of crop circles over the years, and surprisingly, I've had contact with whoever the real circle makers are. Once I had my first contact experience in 2007, I was unstoppable. I've made 6 movies in the last 10 years and won 6 prestigious awards, which really surprised me because it wasn't anything I ever expected in my life.
My great-grandfather is Dwight David Eisenhower, former president, 34th president. I was recruited to go off planet in 2006 to join with the Mars colony. I refused to go because I felt that there were so many elements to it that weren't available to the human race. There were so many elements to it that related to technologies I had hardly heard of, and I felt very manipulated. And so I really wanted to get through that layer or all those different aspects of it before I was even going to even partially agree. I mean, the thing is, I was born with a very powerful mission. I've been aware of it since I was at least 5 or 6 years old. And it had everything to do with this ascension window period. It had everything to do with the divine feminine returning. It had everything to do with sacred union and this ascension on this planet. So right away, I knew that going to Mars wasn't for me, even if it was the most benevolent agenda. And if it was, I wanted to be a part of a big conversation about it, to really see how can we take care of Mother Earth and go off planet and meet both needs. I was willing to do that. But when I couldn't talk, when there was a lot of secrecy and a lot of weird pieces put into place to kind of steer me into it without directly giving me a polite invitation, you know, it really triggered me because I refused to be controlled. So I saw this as a great opportunity in this moment to rise above patriarchy, the hidden Mars agenda, the secret space program, where patriarchy has been running the show and doing things behind our back because it feels it knows what's best, that sort of fatherly authority. And I don't have hatred, I don't consider them enemies, but I think they need to grow up. And so I've kind of taken it upon myself to expose it, but to also share compassion and understanding of, you know, what it's going to take to help a lot of well-intentioned people that work for those groups to maybe, you know, look at the larger picture and look at what's at stake. The human race deserves to know what's been going on in secrecy. Our tax dollars have gone into it. We deserve to know what we're voting for. And as much as there's certain things that maybe we shouldn't know about because it might create too much disruption, there are people that can be appointed for the human race to help guide them into some of the difficult stuff. And I feel as a public speaker, that's part of my role, is to say, we need to be ready for this. But I have a positive message and I'm going to guide you through it, and it's not as scary as it seems.
Today I'm an accomplished engineer, an aerospace engineer, and I am working on a project which is actually one of the only unique projects where we're making a very heavy and strong rocket that will ultimately take us to Mars. We're going to go through multiple configurations, and I'm a mother of 4 children, and one of my child is a special child. So I have had to deal with a whole bunch of adversity, and coming to America, for example, I didn't even know how to speak English, let alone I had to learn English and engineering at the same time from Chinese professor.
When I think about my own wishes and dreams and what I want for myself, you know, it's a work in progress. You think you do something brave, you do something really consciously and you're so proud, and then the next day you're challenged with something else and you find yourself feeling again like, oh, I just want to hide under a rock and be small. And you gotta pull yourself up and you gotta go within and find that power again, and it's a lifetime journey. And that's what I love about sharing with the young women in my life. I have an adorable little 3-year-old niece, and I look at her and the world is her oyster. She laughs and runs and yells whenever she wants to, and it's beautiful. And you know, we slowly socialize ourselves out of that freedom. So, you know, daily it's our own journey to keep that freedom within ourselves, because sometimes we're our worst enemy. And my hope and dream for myself is just to not fear that bigness within, and remind myself daily that that's where I find power, that's where I find inspiration, and that ultimately is what I have to share with the world, with my family, and with the ones I love.
My dad was very unhappy that I was born because I was a girl, so I was very much welcomed by my dad. And I always looked up in the stars and wondered that whether I really belong here, because I never really felt close to my dad. And my mom was a very submissive woman, and there was no inspiration in my house growing up. And however, I kept listening to my heart, kept following it and kept moving onwards. In spite of my dad saying that don't study, I actually studied. I was very much discouraged by him to the point where he would say that you're going to die in that corner studying, and I would not give up. I mean, yeah, it was very challenging in many ways. However, the more challenge I got, it's almost like a gold. You know, you burn in fire, and I kept doing what I wanted to do. So the girl who's looking up in the stars, wondering what she's going to do with her life, and when I compare myself with that girl, and today where I have come, I have to say that I'm very thankful, and the biggest gift I have to offer to the universe or to the planet is that believe in yourself, even when nobody believes in you, and just keep listening to your heart, keep following that passion.
I became a professional dancer because I was dancing so much it seemed like, well, that's what you need to do. That's the next step. So I trained to teach and perform tango, salsa, and swing with my dance partner, who was the ballroom boy that moved to Denver to dance with me. And we were together for 5 years. We started Shut Up and Dance together. And we also started teaching at La Rumba together. La Rumba is Denver's biggest salsa nightclub. And I started working there and really didn't know how to dance salsa, much less teach it. But I learned on the job, and my career took off. So the business of dancing for other people's approval really kicked in high gear. And the struggle of trying to be thin enough and to be good enough, and the competition of dancing better than girls coming up younger than me was really taking its toll on me artistically. But the worst part of the story was how I treated my body. And this is a famous story for a lot of dancers, that we believe we only have a limited time, a limited window of opportunity, and that basically you can sleep when you're dead. And you know, your pain will go away if you forget about it, kind of a deal. Well, that's not really real life if you dance your whole life. So by the time I was 52, no, I was 50, I hit the wall, really. And my spinal injuries were so severe I could hardly walk. Getting to the point of being so injured that I had to stop everything that I was doing was really scary and frightening. But in that dark moment, I was able to get in touch with something inside of me that I had never known before. And from there, I think was the beginning of, I feel like, my rebirth. Because I was in so much pain that I could hardly function. I could barely dance. And my mom ended up being the person that helped me to recover. She helped pay for all of my chiropractic care, and it took a long time. But during that time, I had to rest a lot. And I really thought my dance career was over. I was feeling old, and I was feeling unattractive and thinking, maybe I should start thinking about another career. But then I realized that there was something very powerful in me learning to heal myself and to face that I'm not good enough, to understand that I am enough and I don't have to perform for anyone anymore. And that in order for me to feel alive again, I need to dance for me, for the joy of movement, and not worrying about what anybody thinks or what they care. It's for me. And when I started to do this, I discovered many, many things about myself that I had never known, and was able to start giving that back to my students. And I became more of a dance doctor / dance coach in helping other people to discover that they had possibilities beyond what they imagined.
Pretty much retired now. In the last 3 years, it's been a slow decline, not really of my choosing, and for a while I thought that was pretty frightening, that I wasn't doing this. But I've had a lot of time to reflect, and I really do believe that I've moved and I've changed, I've transformed into something different, into something that I can now do other activities that can still make a difference in the world, but not in the way that I was doing it before. Because before, being a full-time psychotherapist that worked with trauma and inner child to help people who have been wounded as children has been what I've done for 38 years. And it's been a real honor to be able to do that. I mean, I really feel very grateful that I've been able to help people in that way. I know that I've touched people.
So I love Dazzling Wobble. I'm really proud of this book. It was a time in my life where language kind of fell away from me, which I think it happens for all of us when we come to something that's just so hard in our life. A lot of times the thing that we've worked at, whether it's painting or singing, dancing, whatever our way in the world, falls away. And we don't even have access to that. And somehow I was able to write my way through that by coming into some kind of new syntax, a completely new, strange relationship to what I was doing. So I would read my work and go, what? What is that? But I had enough faith. I'd just say, fine, write the next one and keep going. And for me, a lot of what's important in poetry is that I too stand in my place in it, in the same way that all the great ones were so bravely willing to write whatever wild way they were writing that changed the art form. So that's big. And I don't really memorize my own work. What I love to memorize is the work of others. A perfect example for me is the great poet, the ecstatic poet Mirabai. Do you know her work? A lot of people, everyone knows Rumi and Kabir and Hafiz, those wonderful mystical masters, but we also had a woman, a Farsi woman, Mirabai, and her poems are poems of love. She was actually married to Lord Krishna, the Dark One, and she says, don't go, I am sold to you. I want my body to fall down into a heap of sandalwood and incense, and you to set a torch to it. When I have fallen down into ash, smear me on your chest and shoulders. Mirabai says, I too have some light. I want to mingle it with yours. So that ability to stand in that wild, holy, sacred is another piece of my practice. And then looking for an understanding, because when you go to learn poetry in the traditional ways, you are not going to read a woman poet. I mean, I remember my first year, it was like May, and we read a woman. And I said to my teacher, did women not write? I mean, this was, back in the day, and poetry just wasn't taught. It was dead white Englishmen. That's who wrote poetry. That's what it was. So now we have this huge, amazing global perspective. And that's been a big piece of my teaching is to keep that global, all those voices, all those lost ones, all those gone ones, to have them heard in our learning so that we keep pushing that forward too. There was a question that I was looking at, and it interested me, about the question of women's leadership in the future. And what I feel very excited by is actually that whole paradigm would shift enough so that we don't even have to ask that anymore. Interestingly, right now, I happen to be editing 2 books that are about people who have changed their gender in the course of their life. I know, I'm editing 2, not 1, 2. And one, a woman is writing a book with her son who used to be her daughter, and another woman is writing about her husband and what she went through with their 2 children when her husband became a woman. So I'm really a piece of this huge shift where words like he and she are starting to be really open to question what is proper to say. I mean, really, how do we be politically correct, authentic, and respectful of that? And then what will that mean and what will it look like? Well, I'm going to say that maybe we could look at leadership as a humanist question and that the gender thing can drop out.
I've spent 40 years of my life married to 2 different men. I've had children with 2 different men. The names of my daughters are Sunflower Sparkle Mars and Rainbow Harmony Mars. And now I live my life with a woman. You might be wondering, was I always gay? Did I become gay? And you know what? I don't know. I think that I'm looking for love. I'm looking for a conscious partner, someone to share my life with who wants to live healthfully, spiritually, ecologically, creatively. And I don't think it really matters. And my hope is that in the future, we're not going to have labels like that. Gay, straight, bi. It's going to be just regular rather than it's a gay wedding or a gay marriage. Just like it's just a marriage. It's a union of 2 loving people.
My husband now, who wasn't my husband when we first opened the restaurant, we were just friends, and then we were best friends, and then everybody divorced, and then we got married. Between the 2 of us, we have 5 kids. And there has been a time where everybody has worked here. We currently have 3 of the boys working here on a full-time basis. And you know what's really nice about that is that they have the pride and they've got the energy, and needless to say, they have the work ethic. I wish we could pass that work ethic on to everyone. You know, a lot of kids these days feel kind of entitled, which is a shame. Whereas when you grow up in a business like this and you see how hard mom and dad work, you know that if I'm going to get someplace, I've got to work really hard for it. It doesn't just come. So being a grandmother now, at the age of almost 58, not quite, I'd rather be spending my time playing with a grandbaby or walking the dogs or going on hikes or traveling. I am tired. It's so funny though, I feel like after doing this for as many years as I have, I mean 10 years prior to owning my own, so you're looking at 30 years in the restaurant business, I see myself pushing a walker with menus stuck under my arm going, 2, right this way please. I don't think it's ever going to end. You know, I feel like I'm in this as a lifer. And even when I step away from it and I have a day or 2 off, that's all I think about until we close at 2 o'clock every day. So it's on my mind 24/7. You're always thinking about it. And maybe that's part of owning your own business. I'm not too sure. I know that there's a lot of other people that have successful restaurants and they have amazing managers, and I come in being so hyper-vigilant and I just see that there's not a jelly spoon on table 11 or that there's a crack in the glass, or, you know, and I just want things to be so perfect. Maybe there's no such thing as perfection. That's one of the things that I've noticed as I grow old in my years here, that there are flaws everywhere and it's okay.
As I've aged, I have become more curious, even more, I think, more flexible, focusing not on money, not on stature and status, but on the pleasure in nature and the joy and the family connections that I make. I have a little saying that sits by my computer that says, fishing for a good time means throwing in the line. And it's a good one, because if you don't get out there as you age, then you get to sit in a nursing facility, which is all right, baby. You might have the best friends in the world there. But I want to be a part of everything. I want to be a part of my grandchildren, and my little neighbor kids come, and they look at all my little funny things that I share with them. It's important to me. But that's been my major focus in my life, I think, is nature. And a sort of religion, a sort of focus on the spiritual, because that's the sunrise, the sunsets, the light that shines on nature. All those things are so important to me.
You know, working on discernment and our intuition is a huge part of the feminine coming back into power. And working together on building boundaries so that some of these negative forces don't come in. Because if we can starve those things and we can focus on ourselves and our gifts and our unification and rise together, that whole world and system that's not working for us, all the government leaders and all the corruption that might not be working on behalf of the human race in a way that works, they're not going to have anything to support them. So it's not about fighting the system or trying to save the planet. It's about amping the immune system by connecting our spirit energy. Because we know in our body you can't battle an illness. You need to enhance the immune system. You need to change your beliefs. You need to change your lifestyle. And you have to be willing to step up to the plate. Because if you're not, it's not going to do it for you. So to count on a leader or a savior coming, is a lot to ask. We are that savior. We are God Goddess that is intervening through us. And so when we can start to live like that and carry that level of integrity, we're going to unify that much quicker. And everything that's dark, that has been polluting and hurting the planet that we feel the need to save, is going to lose its ability to do that.
So I learned a lot about life by just learning to ride the wave and go with my own flow. As I started growing older, I discovered that what was taught to me and what I learned from society and my parents didn't stick to my core. It wasn't in my bones, it wasn't in my blood, and I realized that life offered a grid of learning. Within every rock, within every tree, within my own being, we were connected, and that connection was a fluid motion that I could tap into at any time. So I started going to school at the New Mexico Academy of Healing Arts, where I really began to tune into energy work, and I started to discover more of that innate nature that was connected to all of life. As I noticed and witnessed a lot of what was happening outside in the way that the leaves moved in the trees and the way that my daughter walked when she was 10 months old when I had her at the age of 29, I started seeing the symbiotic expression in all of the tiny things that life was giving me as a gift in each moment. I chose to take those gifts and bring them into my work today.
And the most surprising part of my transition after teaching prenatal yoga for, I think, 8 years or so before doing procreating myself, I didn't realize how amazing it was going to be to bring a human to planet Earth through my body. And I don't know how to say it. I'm fascinated and enthralled and just daily in awe of the procreative process and phenomena of how life continues. But I just didn't know the joy and the perspective shift that would instantly hit when my baby girl was born.
Her entrance into the world was a very positive experience for all of us. Coming into the world in bed at home, yeah. And we labored in the bathtub a little bit. I gave birth over a yoga ball. You came out in child's pose, sort of. That partial version.
Forever, women have been giving birth on their own. They've been trusting their bodies. They've been, a lot of times having no doctor, a lot of times being in a field or being in their own home or wherever it may be. They were giving birth to us today, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our grandfathers, and then it all changed. We started going to the hospital. We started allowing doctors to take over the process that is ultimately within us, and it's a very natural instinct that women have allowed to they've been doled down in a way to where they just allow the process to go into the doctor's hand. They allow the doctor to just do everything. They think, okay, the doctor's in charge of the whole prenatal visits, the doctor's in charge of my health, the doctor's in charge of if I need a C-section or if I need an IV, I will listen, whatever the doctor says. But now, I think nowadays women, they're gaining that power again. They're realizing I'm in control of this. This is my body, this is my baby, and we're going to give birth and deliver this baby, without, yes, the guidance of somebody else, but yet they're they're really trusting themselves a lot more, I think, now, and they're turning to the ways that are really ancient, the ways that are in our DNA, they're in our makeup. It's, you know, it's part of us as women. Our bodies know how to grow babies, and our bodies know how to birth babies, and we're really nowadays taking that back and saying, yes, I'm going to deliver my baby vaginally. I'm going to deliver my baby without medication. I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to allow this process to come however it needs to be. And as a doula, that's what I try to really help women see within themselves, that, you know, they can have the guidance of a midwife or a doctor or a doula or whoever, but ultimately it's this power within themselves.
And as I think towards motherhood and kind of this next step in my life, I realize, what do we want to teach our girls, and what do we want to teach these young women coming after us? And we want to teach them to be powerful and to own their own power, and to be strong, and to just love that in themselves and not fear it, because society sometimes makes us fear it, and there's nothing to fear about how big you can be in this world.
I really just decided it was time to go back to my roots, which is writing. I really love reporting and writing and digging in, and I'd written a couple of books earlier on wabi-sabi, which is the Japanese art of finding beauty in things that are imperfect and impermanent and rustic. And they had, you know, they were kind of little cultish books, and so I really wanted to write a book that people needed, for one thing. So basically I just reached out to chefs that were along my philosophy, who, you know, cook with organic food, who cook healthy, who keep sugar out for the most part. I did end up putting a section in about, you know, desserts and sweet snacks, but most of the food in here is very, very healthy, and you know, which makes sense. You know, one of the chefs, Scott Dura, who is here in Denver, you know, and his quote's on the back, and he says, cannabis is a healing, helping herb, but only in the company of healing, helping food. And I think that's really the key. So it's like, you know, you're using this, you know, somewhat medicinally, and so why would you put it with a bunch of sugar? We ended up putting together the Cannabis Kitchen Cookbook. It really took a good 6 years, you know, on and off and on and off, but you know, so I ended up with 12 chefs and one mixologist.
We have owned several businesses together. Right now we own Shine Restaurant and Gathering Place in Boulder, Colorado. We own Shine Potions, and we have a beer brewing company as well. And we also are one of the only women-owned breweries in the country. And we're award-winning. We've won awards at the biggest competitions in the country. And again, it's a very masculine world, but we bring the feminine into our beer in the way that we put rose quartz essence in all our beers. So we make rose quartz essence in-house, which is all about unconditional love and tapping into love. And it goes into every batch of beer that we brew. And even the names, we use kind of yogic names like ahimsa for our gluten-free ale, which means compassion and non-harming. We have our Down Dog IPA, which is our biggest seller, and our Kali Porter, which is our dark, really kind of root porter. And so we have a lot of fun with it. We bring the feminine in, we pair our food with our beer with holistic food, and it's really different, and people are really loving it in this community and beyond. And we love working together. We love what we do. It's not always the easiest thing in the world, but we have a lot of fun together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always say we've been negotiating since the womb, so we're very used to working together. But as Jill said, you know, it's always constant negotiation, figuring out, honoring each other, and, you know, bringing our best selves as best as we can.
Yeah. We really feel like we came into this life together by choice, and it's really to work on our hardest stuff together and also celebrate our greatest joys together. So the fact that we push each other's buttons is actually a really good thing, because I think it helps us work through things and also get to know ourselves and each other a lot better, which helps us thrive in a lot of areas of our lives. Exactly, like Jessica was saying, you know, when people say they're a mirror for me, it's like we're literally and figuratively mirrors for each other. By working together, and supporting each other in that. It's also on the flip side, it's like we hold each other accountable all the time. We push each other to be the best that we can possibly be, and we don't let each other get away with playing small, and we really support each other in that. We run very different parts of the business, which is a beautiful thing because we can love and support each other to stretch our wings and feel expansive and totally trust that we're gonna make the right decisions, and then we overlay and kind of work together as well on a lot of different aspects of it. And so it's a lot of, like Jen said, negotiation, but we've learned to do that pretty well.
Well, I am, as a minister, which is a word that for me took a long time for me to really feel worthy of carrying as a woman, to be honest. I had a father that was incredibly dynamic as a minister, and I saw the respect that he was given as a man, as a minister, when I knew the power of the woman that was behind him, that made him that powerful in the presence of people. So for me, being a minister as a woman, I feel that there's a lot more sensitivity and heart that's added to the message. He was a great leader and knew how to really get people inspired to shift their lives and find answers. But as a woman, my work is much more one-on-one with individuals. It comes much more from an empathic place of love and understanding. And I speak to people from a place of I'm just open and receptive and let God just speak through me. I know that I'm only a vehicle of that love. And we're all really trying to find that nurturing of Mother Earth, of the Mother, of the Great Mother. And because I cannot ever teach, demonstrate, or help people learn how to apply spiritual teachings through their life if I don't really take to task that work in my own life.
I would like to ask each and every woman to go within their heart and ask what it is, to reclaim their power, to embrace who they are, embrace their beauty, embrace their intelligence, embrace their divine essence within them. And I would like to ask every woman to go within and ask themselves what it is that they can do to help co-create, to contribute, and to bring about the change that this Mother Earth is in need of. And this is not just for themselves, this is for all of us. This planet doesn't belong to anybody. We're in here all together. Everybody's part, everybody's contributing and co-creating. So why not use this chance to create something amazing for our children and to bring about the changes that will inspire the generations that will come after us and after them and after them.
I'm happy to be a woman, and I'm 86 years old and celebrating every minute of my life. I wake up every morning just happy to be alive and open my eyes and see this wondrous world, and I don't want anything to destroy it for my grandchildren and my children. So I had a very interesting life, and you can have it too. Just have to be open to the world and don't close any doors. And that's, if you live your life like that, anything can happen. You start out as a young girl, maybe not quite so wealthy or quite so beautiful as your next door neighbor, but it comes from the heart, and it comes from making the best of every situation. And anything is possible. So I want you all to work hard at being happy and making other people happy, and don't concentrate on the negative. We got to progress in this world and take care of ourselves for our future, for our grandchildren and our babies. But that's the advice of an 86-year-old who's lived. I hope I'm around a little bit longer so I can see a little bit more of the progress of women. Great things are going to happen. I have a feeling that we are really going to take over the world. That sounds strange, but we're strong. We're stronger than you think we are. And we know how to lead, and we have feelings. I think we're far more in tune to the problems and the troubles of the world than perhaps our male counterparts. I bid you goodbye.
We are mothers, we are daughters, we are sisters, we are friends, we are teachers, we are leaders, we are women, hear us sing. We are beauty, we are gracefulness, to all who come our way. Our hearts are soft, our spirits strong, we are the women of today. Oh, we are the voices of today. Oh, we are the spirit of today. We are white, we are black, we are all colors in between. We are young and we are old, we're bound by vision, bound by dreams. We are timeless, we are present, we're the future here today. Our hearts are soft, our spirits strong, we are the women of today. Oh, we are the voices of today. Oh, we are the spirit of today. Oh, we are the women of today. Oh, we are the spirit of today. We love all of it. Bring us back to one another. And let us be the way back to we are the women of today. We are purpose. We are perfect. We are present. We are here to love you as you are. We are courage. We are passion. We are still.